What if someone offered you the chance to buy into a small coffee company, and you said no? What if that company later became worth over $100 billion? That's exactly what happened. And the man who built that empire but wasn't even one of the original founders. He was just a salesman, a nobody from Brooklyn with a dream too big for anyone else to believe in. This is the story of Starbucks, the most successful coffee chain in the history of the world, and the untold story of how it almost never existed at all. The year is 1971, Seattle, Washington, a city known for rain, gray skies, and bitter cold. Three friends, Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel, and Gordon Bowker, open a small store in Pike Place Market. They aren't selling lattes. They aren't selling frappuccinos. They're selling coffee beans, just beans and tea and spices. The store is tiny. The sign is handmade. The logo, a strange twin-tailed siren, is printed in brown ink. Nobody takes them seriously. But there's something different about this coffee. The beans are sourced carefully, roasted with obsession, brewed with precision. The customers who find the store never stop coming back. Still, it's a small shop, a local secret, nothing more. Then, in 1981, a houseware salesman walks in. His name is Howard Schultz. He's there because his company noticed that this tiny Seattle store was ordering an unusual number of coffee drippers. He walks in. He smells the air. He tastes the coffee, and something happens inside him. Something he can't explain. Howard Schultz grew up poor, not struggling a little poor, genuinely poor. He was raised in the Bayview housing projects in Brooklyn, New York. His father worked in labor jobs his entire life. One day, his father broke his ankle on the job. No insurance, no sick pay, no support. The family had nothing. Howard watched his father suffer, watched his family struggle, and he made a silent promise to himself. If I ever build something, no worker will ever be left behind the way my father was. That promise would later change the lives of tens of thousands of people. But first, he had to survive rejection. Howard joined Starbucks in 1982 as director of marketing. Then, a year later, he travels to Milan, Italy, and his world is never the same again. He walks into espresso bars on every street corner. He watches baristas craft drinks with pride and theater. He sees strangers become neighbors over a single cup of coffee. He has a revelation. This is what Starbucks should be. Not just a store that sells beans. A place, a community. A third place between home and work. He returns to Seattle electrified. He pitches the idea to the founders. They say no. They don't want to be a restaurant. They don't want to serve drinks. They think it will dilute the brand. Howard is devastated, but he doesn't quit. He leaves Starbucks and starts his own coffee shop. Il Giornale, based entirely on the Italian espresso bar model. He needs funding. He pitches 242 investors. 217 of them say no. 217 people looked at Howard Schultz and said, "This will never work." He keeps going. The shop opens. It works. Customers love it. And then, fate intervenes. In 1987, the original Starbucks founders decide to sell. They're tired. They want out. Howard Schultz raises $3.8 million and buys the entire Starbucks brand. He is now 34 years old. He has 5 stores, and a vision so large it sounds like madness. But the road ahead would nearly destroy him. The late 1980s were brutal. Expansion is expensive. Investors are nervous. Losses pile up. In 1989, Starbucks was losing money. Critics say the concept is flawed, that Americans will never pay premium prices for coffee. Who's going to spend $3 on a cup of coffee? They laughed. The press mocks him. Wall Street ignores him. And privately, Howard Schultz is terrified. But he refuses to compromise on quality. He refuses to cut corners. And then, slowly, something shifts. Turning point. 1992. Starbucks goes public on the NASDAQ stock exchange. On the first day of trading, the stock price jumped at 70%. The market had finally spoken. America wasn't just ready for premium coffee. America was hungry for it. Starbucks uses the capital to expand aggressively. New cities, new states, new markets. But Howard Schultz doesn't stop there. He makes a decision that shocks the entire business world. He decides to give full health benefits to part-time employees. At the time, no major American company did this. Shareholders are furious. Analysts call it reckless. But Schultz remembers his father. Remember that broken ankle. Remember the promise he made as a boy. He refuses to run a company that abandons its people. The result? Employee turnover drops dramatically. customer service improves. The brand reputation soars, and something extraordinary begins to happen. Customers don't just like Starbucks. They love Starbucks. They feel something when they walk in. The music, the smell, the warmth, the barista who knows their name. It isn't just coffee anymore. It's an experience, and you cannot put a price on experience. Massive success. By 1996, Starbucks opened its first international location in Tokyo, Japan. The world watches in disbelief. The Japanese, famous for their tea culture, line up around the block for a cup of Seattle coffee. The empire has gone global. Country after country follows. UK, Australia, China, Brazil, South Korea, the Middle East. By 2023, Starbucks operates in 86 countries across the world. There are over 36,000 locations on the planet. There are more stores than McDonald's has in many countries. Every single day, Starbucks serves approximately 8 million customers. Every single day. The Starbucks Rewards loyalty program has over 31 million active members in the United States alone. In fact, Starbucks holds so much customer money in its app and gift cards that economists have described it as functioning like a small bank. The numbers are staggering. Annual revenue exceeds $35 billion. The brand is valued at over $100 billion. That man from the Brooklyn housing projects, that salesman who got rejected 217 times, Howard Schultz became a billionaire. But here's what makes the story even more remarkable. In 2008, during the global financial crisis, Starbucks nearly collapsed. Stock price falls by 75%. Hundreds of stores close. The brand loses its way. Howard Schultz, who had stepped back from the CEO role, returns. He walks back in and does something almost unheard of. He closes every single Starbucks in America for one afternoon. Over 7,000 stores shut down simultaneously. He retrains every barista, personally, from scratch. He sacrifices $6 million in lost revenue in a single day to save the soul of the brand. The media calls it insane. It works. Starbucks recovers completely. The stock reaches all-time highs. The company doesn't just survive the crisis. It dominates the decade that follows. Key lessons. So what can we learn from the story of Starbucks? Lesson 1. Your rejection is not your final answer. Howard Schultz was told no 217 times. By the original founders, by investors, by critics. Every single no was just a delay, not a destination. The next time someone tells you your dream is impossible, remember 217. Lesson 2. Sell the experience, not the product. Nobody needs a $5 coffee, but millions of people choose it every single morning because of how it makes them feel. In business, emotion beats logic every time. Build something that people feel, not just something they use. Lesson 3. Your values will define your empire. Howard Schultz could have cut healthcare for part-time workers and made more money in the short term. He chose people over profit. And in the long run, those people became the profit. Culture is not a soft concept. It is a competitive advantage. Lesson 4. When things fall apart, go back to the basics. In 2008, Schultz didn't rebrand. He didn't launch a new product. He didn't hire a consultant. He went back to the coffee, back to the craft, back to the reason Starbucks existed in the first place. When you're lost in business or in life, simplicity is the compass. Lesson 5. Your past doesn't determine your ceiling. Howard Schultz grew up in poverty. No connections, no safety net, no famous family. What he had was hunger, memory, and a promise he made to a broken man who never got a chance. Sometimes the greatest businesses in the world are built not from ambition alone, but from pain transformed into purpose. From a tiny coffee bean store in Seattle's Pike Place Market to 36,000 locations across 86 countries, to a $100 billion empire felt in every city on Earth. Starbucks is not just a company. It is proof. Proof that a single idea, held tightly enough, carried far enough, can change the entire world. The next great empire, it might be brewing right now, maybe in your hands.